sky goes the color of a bruise. One by one, the birds disappear from your feeder. The goldfinches first, then the sparrows, gone into the hedgerows like they were never there. But before the last of them vanish, a male Northern Cardinal lands on the exact same branch he always uses. The third branch from the base, left side of the oak. He has been landing there at approximately that time for weeks. You assumed it was random, a habit, a coincidence. It is none of those things. In 2018, researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology proved that what your cardinal is doing involves a spatial memory system precise enough to locate a specific twig in three-dimensional space from over 400 meters away. And that same system holds a secret the female cardinal has been exploiting for 50 million years. For most of the 20th century, bird navigation was studied at the macro scale: migration routes, magnetic field detection, star navigation. Nobody thought to ask what a non-migratory backyard cardinal was doing when he landed on the same perch for the 43rd morning in a row. The assumption was routine, a familiar bird using a familiar spot. That assumption collapsed when Dr. Alexei Vysotsky at the University of Zurich attached miniaturized neural recording electrodes to freely moving songbirds and mapped their hippocampal activity as they moved through known and unknown territory. What the data showed was extraordinary. When a bird re-entered a territory it had previously mapped, discrete clusters of hippocampal neurons fired in sequence, not randomly, but in the precise spatial order matching the bird's physical trajectory through that space. These were place cells, the same type of neurons that won the 2014 Nobel Prize when discovered in mammalian brains, firing in birds with a density and spatial resolution that exceeded what had been documented in rats. Your cardinal isn't landing on that branch out of comfort. He is loading a program. Each return visit activates a compressed three-dimensional address, a neural coordinate that encodes not just that branch, but its exact position relative to every predator approach vector, every feeding angle, every thermal current he has cataloged in that microzone. That moment before the storm, when every other bird evaporates and your cardinal is still standing there, is not stubbornness. It is a rapidly executing diagnostic protocol. A 2021 study by Dr. Thomas Gruber at the University of Vienna used barometric pressure loggers inside wild songbird territories and cross-referenced pressure drops with GPS-tagged movement data. The finding was precise. In the 72 minutes before a significant weather front, Northern Cardinals performed what Gruber's team called a territory verification sweep. Rather than retreating immediately, the cardinal revisits every high-value node in his spatial map. Specific perches, specific food sites, specific shelter positions, in a sequence that follows the same route every time. He is not sightseeing. He is refreshing his cache. When the storm hits and visibility drops to near zero, he needs to operate on memory alone. The pre-storm sweep ensures that memory is current. Each stop in the sweep refires the hippocampal place cells for that location, effectively overwriting any data degradation from the previous days. By the time the storm arrives, his internal map is fully updated to the second. That's why he lands on that exact branch one final time before the rain starts. He's saving his coordinates. To understand what your cardinal is actually experiencing when he locks onto that branch, you have to step inside a sensory system that operates in 5 dimensions simultaneously. His inner ear contains 3 semicircular canals filled with fluid and lined with hair cells exquisitely sensitive to rotational acceleration. He can detect a head movement of 0.4 degrees, roughly 4 times finer than human vestibular sensitivity. As he approaches the oak from 200 meters out, his visual system is already resolving individual branch junctions at a spatial frequency humans cannot achieve until they are standing underneath the tree. His UV-sensitive cone cells read the specific ultraviolet absorbency signature of the bark and the lichen patches, giving each branch a unique spectral fingerprint that no other branch in the yard produces. When he is 30 meters out, the olfactory trace of the specific fungal organisms in that branch's lichen colony enters his nares and confirms the target. He does not recognize the branch the way you recognize your front door. He assembles it from a simultaneous convergence of 5 independent data streams: visual, ultraviolet, vestibular, magnetic, and olfactory, all resolving on one spatial address with a precision that would require a survey-grade GPS unit to replicate in human terms. He's not choosing the branch. The branch calls him. Here is where your backyard gets stranger. The Cardinal's spatial map is not private information. A 20% study by Dr. Rindy Anderson at Florida Atlantic University demonstrated that female Northern Cardinals actively eavesdrop on male movement patterns to assess territory quality. Not by following him, but by tracking the regularity and spatial precision of his returns. She positions herself in the understory and monitors whether he arrives at the same high-value perches at consistent intervals. A male whose return pattern is irregular, whose spatial behavior is disorganized, or whose perch use degrades under stress, is broadcasting neurological instability. She is evaluating his hippocampus, not metaphorically, literally. The spatial consistency of his daily returns is a direct, unfakeable readout of the integrity of his brain architecture. Anderson's team tracked 15 breeding pairs across 2 seasons and found that females whose mates showed the highest spatial return consistency produced significantly larger clutches, mean average of 0.6 more eggs per season, which, over a cardinal's 6-year reproductive lifespan, compounds into a statistically enormous fitness differential. The perch your cardinal returns to every morning is not just a favorite spot. It is the display stage of his cognitive fitness. The female has been scoring his performance from the holly bushes. You just never knew to look. This is where the science arrives at something almost devastating. The cardinal's spatial map is not static. It degrades. A landmark 2020 study by Dr. Donna Maney at Emory University tracked hippocampal neurogenesis rates in breeding and non-breeding male songbirds across full calendar years. During the breeding season, under the surge of testosterone and corticosterone, the songbird hippocampus generates new neurons at a rate approximately 4 times higher than the baseline. These new neurons integrate into the place cell network, sharpening spatial resolution and extending the map's range and accuracy. But in birds experiencing chronic territorial stress, including the UV-induced window-striking loop documented in earlier research, this neurogenesis rate drops by up to 60%. The map degrades. His return patterns lose their precision. The female notices. A male cardinal suffering chronic environmental stress doesn't just lose feathers and foraging time. His spatial behavior becomes measurably less reliable, his returns less precise, his sweeps less consistent. His map tells the truth about his body's condition, whether he intends it to or not. What you see as a bird returning to a familiar branch is actually a live biological readout of one animal's neurological health, executive function, and reproductive viability, broadcast publicly across the yard every single morning for anyone with the right eyes to read it. And here is the secondary mystery resolved: why the female exploits spatial consistency rather than song alone. Song can be practiced. Song complexity can be partially faked through sheer repetition. But spatial precision cannot be rehearsed. You cannot train a degraded hippocampus to navigate accurately. The map is the only signal in the bird's entire behavioral repertoire that is metabolically impossible to falsify. She evolved to read it precisely because it cannot lie. Every species on this planet has found some version of that signal. something that strips the performance away and reveals the infrastructure beneath. In the cardinal, it is a perch, a single branch, returned to every morning for as long as the brain that holds the map still works. The cardinal doesn't return to that spot out of habit. He returns because the map is still intact. Have you noticed your cardinal always uses the same branch or feeder perch? And has it changed during certain seasons? Drop your observations in the comments.